If you think modern life is hard because your phone battery dies or your internet lags, medieval times would erase you before breakfast. No warm showers, no clean water on demand, no painkillers, no supermarkets, no emergency rooms. The Middle Ages weren't a slow, romantic era of castles and candlelight. They were loud, they were filthy, they were dangerous. And if you were dropped there right now, there's a very real chance you wouldn't survive the first 24 hours. Welcome back to Ancient Roots Uncovered, where we strip history of its filters and show you the raw human experience. Today, we're breaking down exactly why medieval life would crush the modern body and mind faster than most people realize. The air would already be working against you. The first thing that hits you wouldn't be a sword. It wouldn't be hunger. It would be the smell. Medieval towns were biological minefields. Waste was dumped into the streets. Animal blood from slaughterhouses mixed with human sewage. Rotting food sat in open markets. There were no garbage trucks, no disinfectants, no germ theory. People genuinely believed bad smells caused disease, not bacteria. Every breath carried invisible threats. Tuberculosis, influenza, dysentery, typhoid and plague bacteria floated freely. Wood fires filled homes with thick smoke, slowly damaging lungs. Even the fresh air of the countryside was loaded with parasites and animal waste. Your immune system, trained in a world of treated water and antibiotics, would be out of its depth. A single deep breath could start a chain reaction your body doesn't know how to stop. You wouldn't die in a heroic duel. You'd die from a cup of water. Most medieval people drank from rivers, shallow wells, or rain barrels contaminated by human and animal waste. Cholera-like infections and severe diarrheal diseases were constant killers. Dehydration could take someone out in days, sometimes hours. Even ale and weak beer were safer than water, not because they were healthy, but because boiling killed some microbes. But medieval alcohol was cloudy, inconsistent, and often mixed with whatever grains were available, including mouldy ones carrying toxins. Your stomach, used to filtered and chemically treated water, would react violently. Vomiting, cramping, fever, rapid dehydration. In medieval conditions, that spiral often meant death. No IV fluids, no oral rehydration salts, no hospital bed, just a straw mattress and prayers. A tiny cut today is an inconvenience. In medieval times, it was a countdown. There were no antibiotics, no antiseptics as we understand them. Wounds were cleaned with wine, vinegar, or sometimes nothing at all. Bandages were reused. Surgeons rarely washed their hands. Pus was considered a good sign. Maggots were sometimes the only thing preventing rot. If you scraped your leg on a cart, stepped on a nail, or nicked yourself with a knife, bacteria would move in fast. Staph infections, gangrene, tetanus and blood poisoning were common. Once infection spread, survival rates collapsed. Amputation was often the only option, and even that killed many patients from shock or infection. You wouldn't need a battlefield. A kitchen accident would be enough. Medieval food wasn't cute, it was survival fuel. Bread was coarse and full of grit from stone mills that literally ground rock into the flour. This wore teeth down to stumps. Meat spoiled quickly and was heavily salted or smoked. Vegetables were seasonal and often parasite-ridden. Fresh fruit was rare for common people. And famine hovered constantly. Bad harvests weren't an inconvenience. They were mass death events. Your digestive system, used to clean, regulated food, would revolt. Severe constipation, explosive diarrhea. Vitamin deficiencies would start fast. Scurvy, anemia and weakness weren't long-term medieval problems. They were everyday realities. Even if you had access to food, your body would struggle to pull nutrition from it before illness drained you dry. You wouldn't crawl into a quiet bed and reset. Medieval nights were loud and dangerous. Rats ran across floors and faces. Fleas lived in bedding. Lice nested in hair and clothing. These weren't just gross. They spread typhus and plague. Homes were cold in winter and suffocating in summer. Fires burned indoors with no chimneys in many dwellings. Smoke choked lungs. Eyes burned. Carbon monoxide quietly weakened the body. You'd sleep in short, shallow bursts, always aware, always itchy, always sore. A tired immune system is a weak immune system, and medieval life never let the body truly rest. In medieval times, disease wasn't something you caught. It was something you lived inside. Smallpox scarred faces and blinded survivors. Tuberculosis consumed lungs over months. Dysentery turned intestines into open wounds. The plague could kill within days. Doctors didn't know what caused these illnesses. Treatments included bloodletting, toxic metals, herbal mixtures, and prayer. Many cures made patients weaker, not stronger. If you developed a fever, people wouldn't isolate you. They'd sit close, share cups, sleep nearby. Illness moved through homes like fire through dry grass. Your modern medical expectations would betray you. There would be no tests, no diagnoses, no targeted treatments, only hope. And, well, hope was a thin shield. Even if disease spared you, the social environment might not. Medieval towns were crowded, tense, and armed. Knives were tools. Swords were status symbols. Disputes were settled fast and often publicly. Law enforcement was inconsistent. Trials were brutal. Punishments were extreme. Robbery, assault, and forced labour were part of life. Travellers disappeared. Outsiders were distrusted. Speaking strangely, dressing oddly, or failing to follow local customs could put you in danger. You wouldn't blend in. Your posture, speech, hygiene habits and confusion would mark you instantly. And in a world where survival was already fragile, strangers were risks people didn't tolerate lightly. This part is often ignored. Medieval life was, psychologically heavy. Death was visible. Children died regularly. Public executions were entertainment. Disease deformed bodies. Hunger haunted families. Superstition shaped fear. There was really no concept of mental health. Depression, anxiety and trauma were, framed as spiritual weakness or even possession. Comfort was found in faith or community, but honestly, despair was constant. Your modern mind, so used to personal space, privacy and control, would really struggle. The smells, the noise, the suffering, and the total lack of explanation for pain would grind you down fast. Shock alone could absolutely cripple decision-making. And in medieval times, bad decisions were fatal. People often assume death in the past took years, but more often it took hours. Your first 24 hours would include exposure to new pathogens, contaminated food or water, exhaustion, fear, and, likely injury. Your immune system simply wouldn't have time to adapt. Your instincts just wouldn't match the environment. Medieval people survived because they were, born into that microbial world. Their bodies were trained from infancy. Even then, average life expectancy was dramatically lower. Not because people always died young, but because so many never made it past childhood. You would arrive untrained, unadapted, unprotected. And honestly, history is ruthless to the unprepared. This isn't about mocking the past. It's about respecting it. Medieval survival wasn't luck. It was endurance. It was community. It was adaptation. People learned how to live inside danger because, really, there was no alternative. Their knowledge of seasons, food preservation, animal behavior, and basic medicine kept humanity alive long enough to build the world we now enjoy. Every clean glass of water, every antibiotic, every sealed wound, every warm bed, they were paid for in centuries of suffering. And, understanding that makes modern life not weaker. It makes it extraordinary. If this journey into raw history opened your eyes, make sure you subscribe to Ancient Roots Uncovered, share this video with someone who loves the hidden truth behind the past, and join us as we keep uncovering the real stories that built our world. The past isn't dead, it's speaking. And here we make sure it's heard.